Oh, GI Joburg is back in episode 370. We are continuing our 40th anniversary salute of the greatest year of GI Joburg toys. Was it 1985? I think it was. I am Steve. I'm joined by Paul. Hello, Paul.
40th anniversary salute.
And
Hey,
Rob.
everybody.
Hey, the greatest year of GI Joburg toys, straight from Steven's mouth, 1985.
I said
Yeah,
GI Joburg toys.
you
Well,
did.
yes. We're
Listen back to
taking
that.
ownership. We're taking ownership of all of GI Joe, the best and the worst.
Hell yeah.
So last week we spoke about 1985's figures. This week,
Yeah. So
I mean, I
many.
think this is the real crowd pleaser. I know when other people
Mm.
do figures and vehicle lists, I'm like kind of like, yeah, whatever.
Can we get to the vehicles already, please?
Exactly. Because why? Because I'm a vehicles guy.
That's what he
Like,
is, guys.
if GI Joe had just been a vehicles line with like little mask figures to just put in them, I probably wouldn't have loved it as much. But yeah, they nailed the vehicles this year. Like, they go from budget inclusions to things that are effectively model kits to massive ticket items. Toy
They got
history, in fact.
really cuck and really good stuff here. No, I'm
Jeepers.
kidding. There isn't. No, I just wanted to say
Are
that.
you?
That's not true.
You love the Cobra bunker that much?
Actually,
Like I
it's
said-
iconic. Come on. Don't hate. Anyways, we are going to get into it.
I actually
in
do like the
turn
Cobra bunker, and we're going to get to that.
and alphabetically. Once again, hugely indebted to 3D Joes. The
guys.
neatest presentation in multiple
Joes.
ways of all of the toys you possibly want to see. In fact, I'm going to say, even if you don't have a YouTube channel or you don't have a blog or something, if you use an image of GI Joe toys, whether it be box art, card art, the toy itself, you probably are either knowingly or unknowingly sourcing them for 3D Joe. So please, always a tribute. We can't say it enough, but it's important. I mean, Carson is doing this not for profit. If anything, he's running at a massive, massive loss. So attribution is essential. Doesn't ask for much. It's all free. It's all there. But
100%.
please attribute.
Incidentally, if you did want to support 3D Joes and help them, they've got great books that they sell.
Posters.
They got posters, they got books, they got some cool video interviews and all that kind of stuff. So that there are ways to support 3D Joes, and of course they have their O-ring figures that are coming out as well. So please go and check that out too.
One of these days, I'm gonna get me some Operation Recall toys. Like, what's fun about doing a crowdfund and then kind of stepping away from it and waiting for your toys to arrive is that you effectively have just planted this long-term seed and you've left it in an environment where you know it will flourish. And then years later, you check back and you see this awesome tree. So yeah, look, Operation Recall, that gets me excited because, you know, O-rings of the modern day are hit or miss. Some get very close to perfection. Some are a little bit further from. Even the official product has room for improvement. So I'd like to think all the lessons are being incorporated and brought on board Operation Recall. I mean, it helps that he started out with the dream team. So this might be the real crowd pleaser. But I don't know if you can please the crowd better than you do with the vehicle pool of 1985. Am I right, boys? We're gonna get
it. Let's see how right you are.
The all-weather environment striker is up first.
Or striker.
Yeah, iconic GI Joe vehicle. I think it's a little buggy. Everyone knows this thing. Beautiful, GI Joe green. It fits in perfectly with everything that's come out before it.
Has a wishbone suspension vibe going for it.
Front and back.
Yeah.
What else does it have, Paul?
It's got a door. No, I was going to say it's got a door gun, but it doesn't have a door gun because it's got no doors. It's got a big machine gun on the top.
Is it a machine gun?
Oh, isn't it? I always think of it as a machine gun, but it is a cannon. Hey.
Yeah, it's like I think it's sort of like a recoilless gun. I mean, we could very easily take a look at the blueprints right now if we want some clarity on that.
Really could.
And it's got the little window gun the side, side character, the passenger gun, which is quite
7mm launcher. Boom.
Ooh, so it's a grenade launcher.
And
Hey,
I
could be. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
big the big thing that I always get stuck with, because I've got a Pro Striker, I don't have the original All Striker, so my Pro Striker's got all these nifty features, but does it have removable engine covers? I want to say yes.
It does have the big cover, which
Mm.
then gives rise to the engine itself, which is removable.
Yes.
Beautiful. Yeah, because
your
with the
MCC.
sewing box. Yeah.
Mm.
The sewing box. The MCC. Yep. You can exchange it. However, the MCC's one has this additional loop, which then means you can't put the All Striker's engine cover on. So it's so close to being a perfect feature. That and the fact that you can't close the MCC up with the All Striker inside. These are things that bother my OCD. But anyways, the All Striker is a perfect vehicle as far as I'm concerned. It is a model kit quality vehicle. This is something that 1985 did better than any subsequent year. You already see a step away from it in the following year. So this level of like care, attention to detail, maybe cost, the amount of different plastic sprues and runners that you got in a 1985 vehicle versus something even the year after, staggering. The fact that the headlights have these tiny little transparent lenses that you pop in. The fact that it has steerable front wheels and suspension front and back, and different
it's got
kinds of
steerable wheels.
suspension.
I forget about that. Yeah.
Well, it's not linked to the steering wheel, but it does. You can turn the wheels left and right.
It moves.
It moves, which is a feature that I'm always going to praise for its engineering. But in terms of play, you're always going to slam into a left or a right turn when you're trying to go straight. True of this vehicle, it's true of the Ferret. So that's why they included like a kind of a click system with the Thunder Machine and then later vehicles like the Desert Fox, so that you can keep the wheels locked in a straight position for just forward pushing. But like I say, nice inclusion, definitely poses well on a shelf. And kind of keep it in a dynamic, like wheels to the left, kind of he's hitting a hard turn. The aerials are also such a nice feature. These sort of whip antenna. The details, man. The padded seats, the little camera has a little bit of articulation. The fact that it has a hose, a vehicle that has a hose, just an added texture for funsies. I mean, you could just as easily have a sculpted element, or not even, just pretend like the camera has a linkage to the gun. But no, they decided to spell it out for you. Boy, oh boy.
Also dig that you can keep its weapons in the little like sort of troughs next to it.
Yeah,
so you can put your guns in those.
Nice
gun has a great place to live, and it just fits. Like I think Footloos's gun is being quite a long gun, just fits that trough, or that what would you call it, a gun whale, or
it's like
runner board,
stowage. I don't know.
And I mean, it's cool because it actually gives you a proper space if you do want to put your characters on the side, as they do on the packaging. It's an actual space for the feet to go in. It's not just like a random shelf with a foot peg on. It feels slightly more natural and more real world to have that space there where a guy could actually realistically kind of like hang on as you kind of go along.
There's a temptation to compare it to the Vamp, but I think these are different vehicle classes, albeit slightly different vehicle classes. The All Striker is really, really light. This thing would be able to crush some sand dunes, which is a curiosity. Do you guys think it should have been sand colored as opposed to green?
Yeah, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I've always
That's fascinating.
I've always had like an issue with it being green. I think that's one of my only problems I have with the All Striker. Like I've got two issues with it. I always feel inclined to put a character on the back to mount the bazooka thing. And it kind of supports that, but it doesn't really. And I also don't like. It's not that I don't like the color. I like the green, but I think it should have been like a desert color. It just makes more sense. It's also featured a lot. In my brain, the All Striker and Dusty are kind of a pairing. So for it to be green with Dusty, it's very strange. I think it's one of the reasons I like the Foe Striker as well. Like why I can really see it is because it's gray. You know, like
Yeah.
I know
and
that
works
doesn't
better
make
for
it.
you as a desert vehicle. What's closer to, you know,
It just makes it. It
beige?
just takes it away from being green, which
Mm.
I needed it to be for me to really see it. But that's a me issue. But I don't know. I don't think I'm alone there. I think there's a few people who, and also, if I'm not mistaken, they did the Desert Striker as well. I mean, not the no. I'm actually not mistaken. They did one in Desert Camo too.
Yeah, they did it in a sand color eventually in the modern era, and I'm gonna say after seeing that, I'm happy with the green. I
Oh,
prefer the
okay.
green to that. So it's a case of like just switching off your brain and just enjoying the toy. Maybe it's because the original was green, and I am a sucker for things on their first release deco.
Yeah, that's the way it came out. But I mean, it kind of
Mm.
does make sense that maybe it should have been originally desert colored. But then, you know, they wouldn't get an opportunity to make the Desert Fox later on. And that cannot be green.
Oh, I think Paul would disagree. Maybe me too. But yeah, we just made the Desert
Because
Fox
we
into
were-
the Fox. But
Yeah,
let's
'cause we
let's move
painted
on.
one.
I mean, this thing is incredible, and I'm a huge fan of it. It's a
course.
mainstay, very important vehicle. And like, if I'm to recall Delta Force with Chuck Norris, the only time I ever recall seeing the sort of the real world analog to this in film, those were painted black. So I don't know.
What
I guess
is
it's
that?
less essential. The coloring is exactly. We next have. What do we next have? Come on, Steve. Drive better. The Armadillo.
Wow. A keeper.
For the longest time, I didn't like this thing.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've discussed this thing at length. We did a fantastic. Did we? We did a vehicle focused episode with Armadillo, I believe.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we did.
it's great fun. It's, I mean, you know, I'm talking shit. It's a silly little tank thingy.
Tankless.
It's just great fun to kind of like push around and be like, "Hey guys, I'm in my own little tank now."
But not entirely without real world precedent. Like, I think the thing that always hurt this for me as a child was like, it's too small to be a tank. But no, midget tanks do
yeah,
exist.
it's a thing. Tanklets. I went on a long, beautiful discussion about that.
No,
check it
our
out. Whatever
in-depth.
episode that
Check
was.
it out, guys.
Yeah.
Episode so and so. But yeah, it kind of, I think it does grow on you. It takes time because when you see it, you think it's too rinky dink. You're like, why is this in a line where you have a line with like mortars and other big tanks? But it kind of does have
give you a
small
budget
little
toy,
flex.
basically.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Not
a lot
everyone
of
can
GI.
afford flags.
Yeah,
They're
that's
the
true.
people getting armadillos.
I think this is also one of those vehicles that has the distinct honor of having multiples in GI Joe fans collections. Like, I have 2 of these things. I don't. I mean, like, I don't even know how that really. No, not the original. I got 2 of the modern era, the movie ones, because you gifted
Armored
me one,
Panther.
Steve. Armored Panther, and I think I even bought one. So I bought one. Steve gifted me one just by the by. I think all of us here have more than one. It's just has
no,
this...
I have one.
Okay, yeah, you just have one. Okay, you said no. It's just as a way of
No,
sneaking
thank
into
you,
your collection,
Already
like
have
multiples of this thing, and just let us know in the comments. I'm curious. Do you have more than one armadillo? And are you? Do you know where your second one came from? Because they just sort of show up.
Factory toy shop on Plumstead Main Road. Damn it, man. When I used to have a cool toy shop like within walking distance of my parents' house. Basically, that's where they came from. And they were like 10 Rand or something because
so cheap.
Clearance down. But you know, they didn't just come into my collection. Like, I actually went out and bought the original from a local like vintage toy seller. It was my Christmas present 2023. And yeah, the Armadillo is that budget tank in a number of reasons. Like, the complexity next to the Ore Striker and what's coming later is fairly low. Like I spoke about model kit quality. I'm glad this tank has an underside. It's not just like one piece of plastic and you can see where the driver's butt is from the inside, from the bottom. So it's cool. I wish it had a lid. Like you can scooch your occupant all the way down. For it to be a true tank, to be able to seal it up would be terrific.
Yeah, that'd be the ultimate win with this thing.
It is the GI Joe way to have like easy access to your figures, like, and it almost feels like it should have a hatch. It's got like an aperture that seems, raised. And,
perfect.
Anyways, that is my only criticism. The rest, it's fun. It's fun to push around. It's got devastating firepower for its size, and you can get 2 buddies to hitch a ride on the back. What more could you ask?
No.
All right. Next, the bomb no, not the bomb disposal.
Bridge layer.
Oh, it is the bomb disposal.
No, it is the
it is the bomb disposal.
My page was loading funny. I don't have a context for this thing, so someone else speak first.
I guess we plan to get rid of bombs.
Yeah, I don't know. I think most people have -2 of these in their collection. I don't think I've ever seen one in the flesh, and if I had, it was invisible to me. I'm sure maybe I saw one at JoeCon, but I also didn't see it. It's one of those things. It's fascinating now that I'm actually really looking at it.
Yeah, now that we're staring at it, thanks to 3D Joes and their fantastic 3D technology, swerving or turning arc things, it actually is it's a fairly complicated little thing. It kind of has obviously the part at the front that shields the driver from the explosion, but it's got little arms that kind of grab up whatever they're kind of exploding. It's like a little mini tank. It's kind of like the armadillo's tiny brother, essentially.
It's also a job.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those vehicles that's a job. Yeah, it's like
Do you think that shield will protect you from this piece of ordnance going off? No. This is GI Joe really shitting
just
the
to
bed.
make you feel a little bit better, before you go out.
This is the job most definitely taken over by drones. In fact, I think even in the 80s, surely had that remote control robots to do this, or at least to explode the ordnance. Like, you wouldn't entrust a person in that close proximity to scoop up a heavy unexploded bomb.
But then we'd be denied this awesome little toy.
Yeah, look, it's the GI Joe way, right? Put a figure in everything, even the drone.
And my favorite feature is it's got a tow hook on it. So you're towing your laser gun around with this thing.
Look, in that respect, I mean, we'll see a later vehicle perhaps that does this even better, but it is a utility vehicle. When it's not disposing of ordnance, it can tow things around base.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it any long distances. It's got these puny little treads. But, man, I don't know. This would be an impulse buy if I actually saw the thing in the flesh.
Yeah, I think it's great fun. I think this isn't something that I would seek out on purpose. But it looks like a lot of fun now that I'm looking at it properly. I've never really looked at it properly, like, same as Paul. So, just skip over it when I'm looking at the vehicles in 1985.
Speaks to the depth of this range of toys.
Yeah,
do you think this was the Boo prize?
What do you mean, like
you got
can't even afford the armadillo?
And you're like, but Mom, I wanted a Nintendo.
I wanted an armadillo. You'll take your bomb disposal unit and love it.
You'll like it. Tomorrow, because tonight you're going to bed with no dinner.
You could get creative if you were the sort of like melee combat kind of kid and ditch the bomb disposal function altogether and just make this a kind of like a mincer. Like, this is the tank you deploy amongst your infantry to just kind of claw them to death, bash them up against that scoop.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. I mean, this is it is a year that kind of also, I mean, we said it's a utility thing. It does expand on the utilities or the overall utility of GI Joe. With airtight, barbecue, it's characters that aren't military focused. So it's cool to kind of see them expanding on that in the vehicle line too.
There's plenty of guys not holding rifles that can occupy equipment like this. I think that's enough shine we've shown.
Yeah, I think we've shown this thing more than enough, because we got to talk about something else, which is definitely not a utility vehicle. No, not at all.
Bridge layer. Once again,
yeah,
grateful this thing exists, but never going to seek it out particularly.
Bridge layer, sling and toss. Or what is it called? The
toss and cross.
Toss and cross.
Wow, what a year.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this thing, to be very honest with you.
Isn't it wild? They built a vehicle that had, an actually like decent sized vehicle. This is an armadillo size. This is a proper sized vehicle, and its entire function is not to be a war vehicle. It's to facilitate the movement of your other vehicles.
For all the kids playing out the bridge laying sequence.
Yeah, isn't that wild? What a wild concept. You know, they were like, we've got tanks, we've got all these other things. Let's put in the bridge layer. Like, how do we get the other vehicles to get somewhere else during your playtime?
Well, they were smart enough to include 2 massive guns. So it is conceivable you'd use this as an assault vehicle as well.
Yeah. Well, I think we have discussed it before, but I think some of the ones that were essentially modified tanks. So they would come equipped with their own weapons anyway. To kind of like defend themselves to a certain degree, or to stave off, I suppose, the enemy that might want to come close. But this would probably be accompanied by a couple of war strikers or vamps to kind of like support it while it does lay down the tracks.
Maulers, baby.
Maulers,
It at least has a cartoon appearance, which is more than I can say for the bomb disposal vehicle. So,
whoops.
I'm not saying that the bomb disposal is not in the cartoon. I'm just saying that if it was invisible, because I don't remember seeing it.
No, it's oh no. So now I think I'm remembering one of Mark's Dyer stories, one of his books. He uses it. Does he? I think he does in one of his books, doesn't he?
For sure.
Yeah, he does. In the first one we read as one of our sort of story time things.
Games Master.
Yes.
Burn the Games Master.
Bridge layer comes with a cool driver, Toll Booth, a cool name, kind of like a little construction worker dude, and he comes with like a giant hammer. Great fun. How much fun is that,
Oh gosh. Well, let me not poo-poo it on its 40th anniversary. Yes. Look, it adds enormous depth to the GI Joe line to have a guy like Toll Booth filling out the background. GI Joe, I'm sure, is involved in plenty of construction projects because of their level of security. So the Joes themselves are laborers, and this guy is the foreman. If that was the way you like to play GI Joe, power to you, man.
Well, he's not a bomb detector.
Awesome.
Not with that hammer.
Dud. Safe.
Dud. Also, guys, nobody mentioned old Crankcase talking about vehicle drivers. Crankcase is. I know he's a little bit of a blinker you miss him character, but I feel like we have to mention it somewhere out there.
How dare you say that? He's
favorite
great
Joe. He is a great. He is a great sculpt.
I own Crankcase without owning an Ore Striker. That's
same
how
here.
cool it is.
Yeah, I have that same privilege.
Once again, a moustache making a character cooler than if he didn't have a moustache. Some of that just makes any GI Joe more magical and awesome. Having a moustache,
a snore.
Like pretty straightforward outfit, but very functional. Like not overly done. Like he doesn't need camera and shit because he's the driver essentially. But he's got a cool little helmet and comes with a big gun. Like
tempo patch and gold buckle, excellent sculpt. Look, there are less complex single-carded figures in existence. This guy came with 2 accessories. Yeah, this is how it's done, ladies and gentlemen.
1985, knocking it out of the park. My goodness.
Sweet.
But what else did we get in 1985 vehicle-wise?
Well, after the bridge layer comes our first Cobra entry.
Ooh.
Now, I'm going to gloss over the Cobra Cats because this was...
Fair enough. Sears exclusive.
Or Sears. Was it? Yeah, one of the 2.
Sears exclusive, yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Rob.
What is your attitude towards a recolor of the Mobat and a faction swap, boys?
I hate it.
Okay.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I
hate
think
it.
it's awesome. I think it's such a great idea. Like, it's one of the earliest kind of like sub teams, in a way, because we got the Crimson Attack tank, and I think we'll show it off a little bit later. The SMS, Sentry and Missile System, which is also a Sears exclusive. So it's its own little like subset in a way. And the first time we kind of get the concept of GI Cobra repainting GI Joe stuff. Yes, it's kind of like a reuse, obviously, of something else, but like what a cool look, black and red. How can you not like
everything
it?
looks better in black and red? Yeah, it's cool that
I
Cobra
don't
got
know.
a more standard tank. So it's not just his tanks. Cobra
Well,
did
as
have some
standard
heavy
as
armor.
like something that is exclusive to Sears can be, but in the head can in the lore of GI Joe,
If I
it's
see
cool
one of
to have
these, I
it.
might be inclined to pick it up if it's not too dearly priced. But then spinning outwards from this, like it's intended to be a Crimson Guard vehicle specifically. It is the Crimson
Mhm.
Attack tank. Let's face facts. So how do you guys feel
Be
about
honest.
Crimson Guardsmen getting a motor pool? And how do you feel about
Yeah.
Crimson Guardsmen being tank operators? Seems a bit of a
I
strange.
just hate that this recolor, like specifically this recolor. I know that I'm a big fan of Tiger Force and whatever, so there's a whole other argument to be made. But the Mobat is too vanilla for Cobra. So I hate that they have this vanilla tank and that it's recolored. It devalues the original. It feels like a knockoff because it devalues the original and it doesn't have, in my opinion, enough value to stand on its own. And those questions that you posited now, Steve, like, do the Crimson Guards need a motor pool? Okay, yes, I'm down with them having a motor pool, but should they have armor? Like, no, not specifically, not a Mobat. I don't love that idea. For me, this is a total cash grab. It's 100% scam. Don't dig it
what
at all.
I think why they might have done this is because okay, I showed off my little spreadsheet from last week. Like this year is very GI Joe focused over Cobra. Yes, we do get some key characters that will go on to become key characters. We get some army builds and stuff, but like vehicle wise, Cobra essentially, if you take out it's some of the smaller things, they essentially have 2 vehicles this year. So I feel like they felt like they had to add a couple of extra stuff in there somehow. And they just didn't have the designs yet, going for more Cobra-ified things. So yeah, they took the cheap route out. And they came up with
box art
this.
though.
Gorgeous.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Cobra is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a Cobra Cat and a His tank or something like that are all in one big box. It's like a big box set that you get. Or is it just the one by itself and the other one is a set?
I think it's the cat comes on its own, and then the other set is called the SMS, which is Sentry and Missile System, which is the His tank painted in red with the red MMS. Or
like, I think the box art did wonders for this vehicle back in the day because it looks cool today. I know as a kid,
I
would
imagine Sears insisted on it. They
Hmm.
wanted beautiful box art if they're gonna have this exclusive vehicle. So yeah, I can see both sides. I can see like it's cool. I think it's cool because it's a repaint, and I think red and black look freaking awesome. But at the same time, yes, it is a repaint as well, very early in the line, and kind of does set a precedent for stuff that does come later on, which isn't as awesome. Where repaints are, they feel earned, or they feel like a cool subset, like Tiger Force. And yes, Stephen, it kind of doesn't make sense if you really think about it, why the Crimson Guards have their own tank if they're meant to be elite troops. But it kind of feels more like it fits in with like the concept of them being Tomics and Zamot's troops.
Yes, I was about to say there are multiple different ways you can play the Crimson Guardsmen.
Exactly.
Are they just like personal guards for Commander, like they were in the cartoon? Are they undercover specialists like they were in the ARAL run? Or were they a private army like they are in the Skybound run? If they were a private army, maybe they did have vehicles as complex as armor.
So I suppose even Hasbro themselves weren't exactly sure what they were going to be doing with the Crimson Guard going forward.
It's just a catchy name, the Cobra Cat.
Such a cool name.
All right, boys. once again, model kit quality. We've got
Woo, boy.
the ferret. My word.
Beautiful.
A handful of fun.
And yeah, so now both GI Joe and Cobra can go off road and fight each other. You know, out wherever they're gonna go. But now I'm curious, Paul, because you were just saying the Cobra Cat is too plain Jane of a design for Cobra. What do you say about the Cobra Ferret? It's essentially just a little four-wheel off-road, drive little thing.
It's plain in the right
At its
way.
core.
Because it's got that giant ass gun on it. It's a little bit oversized. It's got the little turret gun on its snout. It's just it screams as otherworldly, even though it is essentially just an ATV,
Yeah.
But it does have an otherworldly quality to it. That's I appreciate. That's what I want for my toys, And the cool thing is, if you got two of these, it was like a treat, You're like,
You're
oh my
set.
God, I've got another one of these.
You don't need anything else.
Also, like, I dig the coloring, that dark blue with the red. It's that Cobra flavor that we know and love.
It's great.
I feel like this is a Cobra vehicle, and I hate when it was repurposed as a Joe vehicle.
Ooh.
I really don't. That's why I love the idea.
Fine.
Like in Tiger Force, it makes sense because it's stolen and reappropriated.
I don't want to see a Joe vehicle except in Tiger Force.
Yeah, but to make it a mass-produced Joe vehicle does bug me, like quite a bit. Yeah, so I enjoy it for being here. Like it's great.
Well, what do you think of the variation on this? I mean, I was watching Toy Connections video on 1985, and I believe he mentions that there is a brighter blue version of this. Yes, yeah. So Stephen's showing us the comparison. I don't know if it came out the same year or it's kind of like a slightly later version of it. But what do you think of it brightened up?
I'm more inclined to the darker one. Yeah, the problems I have with the bright blue are the same issues I have with Blue Baroness. It's just fine, but I don't love it.
Stephen, Ferret, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this thing?
Well, I mean, we're at a point in the line where it's almost a coin toss as to what faction things are, because a quad is as heroic a vehicle as anything, really. GI Joe had two-wheelers, they had bikes, and for some reason Cobra gets the ferret. I think it would have worked as a Joe vehicle as well. There's nothing particularly Cobra about its structure and design. The colors bring in the Cobra-ness, and the stickers certainly do that. But like, I'm in disagreement with you there, Paul. I think there's something kind of almost sinister about a motorcycle with sidecar, because we have that association with like the German Wehrmacht.
Yeah.
So like, if the Silver Mirage had been the snake Mirage, I don't know. Come up with a catchy Cobra name with the Silver Mirage.
Crimson
If
Mirage.
that was in blue, like the ferret doesn't scream Cobra to me. It's just our perceptions of it that have been molded over time. This, I got to come back to the complexity of this, because this was my first GI Joe vehicle, albeit in its Tiger Force reskin, and it's got a hose. It's got rubber tires. It's got steerable front wheels that have a complex like push and pull to them. It's got that linkage between the handlebars and the front machine guns. It's got a little bit of suspension, not a lot. And it's certainly not necessarily by design, but I'm not excluding the possibility that someone who built this up, mocked this up, would like, oh, there's some give to this. That's cool. Let the plastic flex. Don't close those gaps. So this is the removable storage bin and a rubberized seat.
Yeah.
It's easy to overlook the complexity of this thing because of its size. It's got a grayed out sort of engine that is visible through the kind of the footwells. That's something that, like, I don't think the classified upscale possesses. Doesn't have the steerable wheels, doesn't have rubber tires, and it's a single kind of plastic stamp as opposed to like multiple parts clicked together to give you the color breaks. So deceptively simple. It's got a 1985 feature which was soon dropped, which was the gas cap. So you could fuel this up with your Terradrome. I mean, at this stage, you could only fuel it up with the Flag's fuel truck, but it looked to be a feature that they were going to do more with, and didn't. But its inclusion here is terrific. Never could make head or tail of the missiles. Literally, which way's front? That has always been bizarre.
Whichever side you put the little sticker on, that's the front.
There's something weird with some GI Joe missiles of the era. Lady J's harpoon gun is ambi firing, ambiguous. Which way's the front? Which is the back? Doesn't matter. She fires the one, she swivels it around, she fires the other. So maybe this is like, it'll take out pursuers and targets in front in one fell swoop.
So overall, a great GI Joe vehicle, but not necessarily a specifically great Cobra vehicle is what I'm getting from you, Stephen.
Cobra needed more basic vehicles, and I'm grateful that they got the Ferret because it is a fantastic inclusion.
Yeah, and as I said, I think it's a great counterpart to the All Striker because now they can, both forces can really just go off road and fight each other at faster speeds in these little scout vehicles. Encourages nice play together, GI Joe versus Cobra, which you don't get a lot from this year. There's not a lot of like cross points between Joe and Cobra, vehicle-wise. I suppose kind of there is later on when we kind of continue to explore the vehicles that we're seeing here. But yeah, I think definitely a great addition to the line. Sometimes you just need a little vehicle, and it's nice that this year is accommodating to collectors or kids or families of any monetary means.
I will say this much though, just as a parting shot to the Ferrets, is it was too complex for me at age 5.
Parting shot.
Yeah.
Ooh, Stephen, how could you?
How complex is the Cobra fight blood?
Yes.
It is
Guys,
100% complex.
This is 100% cool. You guys know me. I don't need to go into too much of this. I love the Cobra flight pod, aka the Trouble Bubble, the Trouble Bibble. I love this thing. It does no wrong in my eyes.
Sorry, James, just a peek behind the curtain. Just going to handle a bit of life. So if you don't mind driving the images, if someone could get up 3D Joes, take over for me. Sorry, I'd love to talk about the flight pod, but
go drive life.
My boy wants to talk to me. I'll be back.
Tell him about how cool your times are.
How cool yeah, let's do this properly. There we go. Okay, Cobra flight pod. Yeah, I love this. I love this. I love this so much. It is great to play with. It is stupidly complex, which makes it far more interesting.
You don't notice that. I mean, like just looking. I mean, actually, no, I lie. You look at it and you kind of do see that there's a lot going on here. It's got a canopy. It's got that the thing that he holds on to. You can see that's made of multiple pieces. I can't even. I mean, when you got yours, did you have to put them together, or were yours together?
So mine's actually the modern era version that was a gift from Jim Godfrey, and it was already complete. But he did sort of for shipping separate some parts. So I did have the joy of putting it together, but I believe it was like something that you had to assemble to greater or lesser degree when you got one.
That's still wild to me. I mean, it's just maybe a little bit of a tangent, but it's still wild to me that like a lot of original GI Joe vehicles, you would have to put them together. Like I have never ever had that experience for myself with any Joe vehicle that I've ever received. It's usually always complete out of box.
We gotta sort that out, dude. Yeah, we gotta fix that for you. Shit, I never knew that.
Vehicles are expensive though, boxed.
But
they really are. Unless, of course, the the Cobra His tank that I got from Tim Wild, that's still in its box. I actually need to put that together.
requires some assembly, yeah.
Okay, well then there we go. I'm gonna have some of that sort of experience very soon. I do intend on making that video, guys. Don't worry, it's coming.
I'm sure Tim is very happy to hear that, actually, like knowing that it will be your first experience. But also, like the Cobra flight plod. Keep doing this today. The flight pod. It's just because I always call it a trouble bubble, and then when you expect me to call it a trouble bubble, I call it a flight pod because I'm just like that. I don't mean to be. I don't do it on purpose.
No, of course.
So, this is very like quintessentially Cobra. This is a vehicle that if I see it with GI Joe colors, I will get a little bit.
That would make no sense whatsoever. Yeah, I think this does read like Cobra. Like, okay, like the ferret. I mean, I think Stephen has argued. I mean, I agree with him. It doesn't look quintessentially Cobra, even though you say there's enough hints there. But this, I think, out of the vehicles that we do get this year for Cobra, definitely does feel like nothing else. That could be made for any other faction other than Cobra.
And I love that, just as a side note, I love that this vehicle kind of finds its way into a game like Metal Gear Solid 3. Because there's a vehicle very similar to it in MGS3. And that I think that's when this thing kind of came full circle. And I may have said this before on our deep dive episode of this, that I'm remembering that we either did or will do in the future that I've also done because apparently I'm stuck in different time zones in my life.
Life's a flat circle.
But but the thing with this vehicle is that it did kind of come full circle to me when I saw its real world application. I was just like, oh my god, real world being Metal Gear Solid had a really good representation of it. That made it very believable. I also now have the classified one finally.
Oh, fantastic! Congrats!
It's very good. It was, I've been wanting to do like a new stuff section for a while and then mention it, and it's just been like crazy.
We've been so focused recently. I mean, obviously, if everyone has been keeping up with our episodes, we did Paul and I were flying solo. We did a wonderful focus on Toy Fair, New York Toy Fair, and we took down old Crystal. Wait, was it Crystal Ball?
Crystal Ball.
Yes, it was. No, it wasn't Crystal Ball. Wait.
Wow.
What did we talk about? No, it was the guy. It was Bullhorn. Oh my god.
Bullhorn, yeah. We spoke a lot about Crystal Ball at
we did.
In the Toy Fair coverage.
Oh my gosh. But talking about Chris, he is a good candidate for another duo figure focused episode if Paul and I get to do another one of those.
I hope so.
I hope so too. But yeah, Trouble Bubble, Flip Flop, Cobra Flip Flop is just great fun. If you don't own one, if you don't own many, you should definitely own those.
Rob, do you have one? I can't remember.
I do actually. Yeah, Stephen, I think bought us ours at the same time. So
good.
You own one, an original, which is great. And I mean, also, and then of course, there's the great feature of the thing is the kind of like drone feature where you kind of like pop a bomb in it and
it's a bomb,
kind of fly it away, kind of flies itself to destroy GI Joes. I can't.
But cool. Here's the manual. Speaking of, anyway, let's jump on to another figure before we end up gushing on
lyrically about this for hours now.
Before we like gush over the flight plot too much.
Flip flop.
The flip flop. The triple blue.
So now the next vehicle we're looking at is what I would probably say is the premier vehicle for Cobra this year. There's nothing else that they have that comes out this year that comes anywhere near the size of this thing for Cobra. And it's definitely the counterpart of the major G.I. Joe vehicle that we haven't discussed yet that came out this year. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about the Cobra Moray, the Cobra Hydrofoil. What a fantastic vehicle. Like this, it feels Cobra. It feels deadly. So the concept of a hydrofoil kind of like speeding across the surface of the water with the fantastic sort of like Cobra stickers on the side of it. It's deadly. It holds all your figures. It can do no wrong.
I agree. I love the Cobra Moray. It is a premium vehicle. It's also one of those things that it's not just, for me, it's elevated. It's not just a vehicle. It's also a little bit of a play set, because you're going to have a bunch of people on this thing doing stuff, having chats. You can have fights on the deck.
Like you can launch
cups.
you can launch your eels off this thing. So it's kind of like it's the transport that gets them somewhere. So they do an underwater mission.
Yep.
There's just tons of stuff that can go on with this thing, and so many play features. Like,
except for that, it just doesn't float that well. That's the irony, right?
Yeah, that's the well, because of the hydrofoil feature, it kind of does allow spaces for water to kind of come in there. But I mean, if I remember correctly, Stephen, you can modify it in a way that you kind of add polystyrene either underneath it, or you put it inside the hull.
Yeah, you put it inside the hull. You give it like polystyrene,
and then that helps give it more buoyancy. So it will kind of like float better than it does out of the box.
So,
but it's such a simple like edit or fix to the hydrofoil that you can kind of almost overlook it. Like, it does float with a little bit of extra help,
Yeah, like holding it underneath.
Yes.
Well, I was saying no, but I'm pretty sure, Stephen, you didn't use. Was it with this that you used polystyrene to kind of help make it more buoyant?
Or was that it was the Shark 9000.
It was the Shark. I knew it was some sort of floating vehicle, at least.
Maybe your mileage may vary, but my Moray does not float at all. It will sink right to the bottom immediately.
So,
but let it not take away from the fact that it is an amazing toy,
magnificent boat.
Someone really sent me down the rabbit hole of buying vintage vehicles, when they bought it for me for my 21st birthday.
How could they do that?
Is Robert. You took a chance. You rolled the dice and bought a considerable vehicle and had it shipped to us.
Will this person have this thing? Will it come to South Africa? Will customs keep it away from us? Is this guy even legit?
I go back to that moment anytime I see the Moray. Like, this box in my room on the table. I used to have a table right in the middle of the room. Not anymore. But that's where it was. And you sort of hovering over me expectantly, like, ooh. So it was a very, very good day. And it meant a lot beyond just the initial meaning of amazing gift for a milestone birthday. It kicked off our entire sort of classic vehicle purchase spree.
Renaissance. I mean, now we could afford to buy the things we wanted, and I think it definitely spurred us on to want more GI Joe stuff.
And it came from a time in collecting when the lens wasn't being pilfered for separate sale. I have a distinct feeling some people are just, if they're encountering the lens, sellers, less scrupulous sellers, that they are taking the lens out and parting it out and selling it at top dollar, and then just selling the Moray at a standard price without it.
It was a more innocent time.
Undeniably, one of my favorite vehicles in the GI Joe line. Just want to put that out there if anybody cares. And also, this came to me by way of Jim as well. So thank you, Jim, again, dude.
Jim,
and it came with the lamprey as well. So
what a fun little time.
Yeah, and don't snub the driver. The lampreys are very cool. They are futuristic, boat riders from, I don't know, the retro future of 2083.
Or they they ride the the electric grid and in Tron or something.
They are just from the future. They also have a small distinction of having an incredible modern era counterpart as well. I think the 25th anniversary version of this toy is also outstanding.
I would
But
say
yeah,
my only criticism is that he doesn't visually match the Cobra hydrofoil. Like the coloring is completely off. Like the only way I can imagine this working is like Cobra is really worried about safety for the lamprey, and they're like, you have to, be easy to spot in the water, so you're gonna have to wear this blue and gray outfit that kind of clashes with the red and gray of
Silver.
the hydrofoil and the silver. Exactly. So that's the
Yeah.
only. It's a small thing. I think it's a
Well,
great figure, but
I do feel he pairs well with the Motor Viper. If you
Oh.
look at the uniforms, yeah, like for me that's always been a thing, and also ironically the Laser Viper,
that
which
is
has come out
weird.
much later.
Hmm.
I hear you on that, Rob, and what you're saying makes total sense, and I think that's why I love that he's silver and blue, because it makes total sense that he is this futuristic dude in this ultimately very burgundy or dark burgundy vehicle. Pink if your light is right. But yeah, I don't want to gush over this longer because we can turn this into a whole episode and we have to move along.
Fair enough.
But this was definitely something in 1985. If my parents knew about this stuff, I would have hoped for this to be under.
Well, I
my
mean,
Christmas
and as I said, as we started to talk about this, it really is the only premier vehicle that Cobra gets this year. Is the hydrofoil. Everything else is like small little things. It's not, there's no like big feature vehicle for them in this year, and it really is the hydrofoil. And fortunately, they knock it out of the park. I think as it's like a premier thing to purchase on the side of Cobra. Very lucky to have.
Also keeping with Cobra's Wet and Wild vibe for 1985, we've got the Cobra Night Landing.
Night Landing. We certainly need it, I guess. It's important to have it.
Carry on, I'm not stopping you.
But it's dingy in the end, which is fortunately in Cobra colors. I like that about it. But I could easily see this in the core. Well, or the core. I could see this in any line actually. But maybe that's what's beautiful about it. The kind of the utilitarian necessity of it.
I always used to view this with exactly that lens. I used to be like, oh, it's a rubber dinghy or rubber ducky or whatever it is, and like whatever. But there's something about this vehicle in particular. When you have it, it has a certain panache. It stands out from other rubber dinghies from other toy lines, which I think all of us have actually spied quite a few of in our time going through the toy aisles. There is something about this. There are many rubber dinghies out there, but this one is the one that's from the GI Joe line, and it is beautiful. And I actually don't mind it being a GI Joe vehicle, as in like
Cobra
I don't
vehicle.
mind if it's I mean this is a Cobra vehicle, but I mean I don't mind if it gets reappropriated, as in like if they released a GI Joe version, I don't think that would have been
Obviously
the end of the world.
Yeah,
but Cujo has actually put a spotlight on this long time ago when we were doing the box art focuses, and the fact that they've got Firefly on the box art going to do some nefarious deed.
Yeah, there's a story here. It sells you on it.
Yeah, and I love that. And how many, like, you will lose count. How many action films have some kind of night landing that happens with one of these vehicles, with a Zodiac or a rubber dinghy or a rubber ducky or whatever.
It's a
anyway, what's the you, Steve?
Your characters.
The first point that I always make about things that are as utilitarian as a Zodiac finding their way into the Cobra arsenal is like shortly after 85, we see a departure in like the design mandate of Cobra. Like you ditch these real world Cobra vehicles in favor of bugs, buzzballs, pogos. Like seeing a quad bike and a rubber dinghy in Cobra colors, it's always going to be a knee jerk for me because I didn't grow up with Cobra having realistic stuff. All their stuff was flippy dippy, really out there. So it's always a resting moment to see a blue Cobra Zodiac with Firefly at the helm. But what a cool little battle in a box. I mean, you're not only getting the boat, you're getting these sort of ancillary pieces that don't necessarily relate to the boat itself. The
Yeah.
radio, the spade, the knife, the extra machine gun. These are part of the tapestry, part of the storytelling. You're not just playing out the sort of maritime moments, you're playing out the mission that comes thereafter. And you're getting that all in one little pack. This is almost less of a vehicle and more of what comes later in our rundown, which are the sort of the battle stations or the accessories. This is a play pattern. It's handed to you with additional little bits and pieces. Lovely finger food, as Paul might say. And it's the first time I've realized, now that you're thumbing over the blueprints and the instructions, that these things were originally sold in 2 halves that you would marry together. So there's a complexity there to the seats, that the seats actually go over a sort of wood grain. I think it is wood grain. It's been a while since I held mine. Sort of deck.
Yeah.
So there's a 3-dimensionality to this, which it's a complexity that you didn't have to have. This could have been one plastic piece, but no. And yes, it does have some airspace as a result and will float, provided no water logs up inside it. If it's nice and tight.
It's fun like that.
It's a huge winner.
Steve, do you want to take care of the picture duties, or are you happy with me flying?
Oh, so happy.
You're
So I
doing
think once again, let's gloss over the SMS and the blue snake.
Yes. So SMS, as I kind of mentioned earlier, is also another series exclusive. It kind of expands on the Crimson line of vehicles. We get the Sentry, which is a repaint of the Hist, and it comes with the missile system, which is originally, once again, a GI Joe accessory, kind of like missile
tank,
thing. It comes together.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do when it comes
it's a repaint. I think it looks kind of cool.
I like this a lot. I know, going from hating the tank to loving the Hist.
Wild.
It's a Cobra product. It's given Crimson Guard livery. This is enough for a Crimson Guard motor pool. Like, I can imagine them needing something like a high-speed Sentry to be a effective escort for like high value personnel in Cobra, and then also having the SAM, the anti-air missiles, or the SMS, because
makes sense.
Protecting from airstrikes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this is not necessarily from GI Joe. This is from Cobra's customers. So like, so a great set. Like,
cool that it exists. Yeah, I think great fun. Why not?
But it's not.
What acronym actually breaks down as Cobra Sentry and missile system? It's not the Cobra Sentry missile system. I didn't know that. Okay.
SAM, or what they call the SMS.
I mean, the Hiss is a high-speed Sentry, so it's Cobra Sentry, and then missile system. These things, they don't really have like cool names.
Yeah, there's the cat and the SMS.
But it's a 7. Like they didn't change the numbering of the sticker. It's also 788, just like the classic Hiss.
Yeah, that's kind of a cop-out, isn't it? You'd think that it would be its own regiment or faction or something.
I somehow thought Blue Snake was some kind of exclusive, but no, it was sold standard.
It's just a variation. I suppose they were like...
Cobra needs more stuff.
We need more stuff, and blue is like one of the other major colors we want to push. Is like a colorful Cobra. So
it's funny, like Cobra Blue is a cool sort of faction coding, but there's certain vehicles that work much better in that bone color, and the snake is one of them.
Definitely.
Like, I can accept a black snake, but I think yes, that bone color.
Black snake is also cool.
It is cool, but the bone is the perfect color for it, because it's a thing that they did, with a lot of these earlier like vehicles for Cobra, the Cobra Flight Plop, the snake as well, and the wing thing. What's that called again? Cobra.
The claw.
The claw.
Like there's a nice. It's like the Air Force that isn't the Rattler is or not Air Force, but the smaller things all kind of they hang together, like GI Joe has the GI Joe green on the earlier stuff. Cobra has that bone white, and it does work better because this looks more like a toy. Yes, I know it's a toy, but it looks more like a toy because of the color.
I just want to also mention that like the snake is, for me, for my money, one of the most exciting toy designs ever done in the 80s.
Wow.
Because I'll tell you why I say so. It's firstly, you can put a figure in it and it gives it articulation in the legs. But if you don't have a figure inside, it's still got the articulation in the legs. You know, it doesn't like fall apart. It's a mech suit. It's an armored suit. Okay, that encases the character.
Some might dispute that being articulation, more just like wiggle room.
Yes. But I mean, but either way, it's there. You know what I mean? Like, and at least it gives you something. You know, at least it's like for the kid who's only got one GI Joe and a snake, they can actually have decent battles without this thing just being like window dressing.
They thought of that, you know, when there is no Joe in there, it can still stand up. But it's not a nice variant. It should just
I don't like the dark blue variant.
I'm glad you guys have some positivity about the snake, because I've heard some pretty weighty criticisms leveled at this thing not too long ago by some podcasting buddies of mine, or one buddy in particular. So, okay, so we're all in agreement that we like snakes.
We do like snakes.
Yeah, they're great.
I love snakes. I love my snake.
I bet you do. I lament the fact that as a brand, GI Joe never did more variations of the snake armor, because I think it is such an ingenious thing that other toy lines have.
Them patrol snake.
Yes, I can. That's the whole thing.
You've got the perfect number of snakes, Rob. You've got two. You got a white snake and a black snake.
Yeah, I've got the same, Rob. But I would have loved to have seen like different versions of it. Like later on, toy lines like the BattleTech toy line would do the environmental, what do they call it? An environmental suit, which is essentially like the snake armor, but those figures were Dino Rider sized or mask size, and it didn't have. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, their feet didn't even move, and I was like, back then I was annoyed by that as an idea. Looking back at it now, having the knowledge of the snake, I'm like, wow, guys, you could have done this. You could have actually made this
so much better.
Yeah, it's
you
sad.
know what?
But
just wiggle a bit, wiggle it a little bit.
So now we come to the premiere. Like, this is the ground forces of GI Joe have just leveled up, and also, like, now we understand why the bridge layer exists, so it can get this thing across difficult terrain. What am I talking about, guys? What is it that is so cool that all three of us own one, motorized thanks to incredible people on the internet and people out there?
Some of us own two.
It was a big feature.
The Mauler MBT tank, which yeah, Mauler main battle tank.
So
amazing, amazing.
Yes,
it was my single highest priority when I went to JoeCon, the final JoeCon. This was the must-have big ticket item, and I found the best deal, and I got it. Didn't know if it was going to work or not with the batteries. Paul and I charged through Chattanooga in that muggy heat. Paul was wearing jeans, of course, and a leather jacket. He could never be seen without it. And it worked, and I fell to my knees and rejoiced, because like by that stage the seller had already packed up and left, so I was like, too late to return.
But he did give you a nice deal. He did kind of say, listen, if the battery feature doesn't work, you can always bring it back, and he'll like.
No, he didn't.
That wasn't a nice deal. He ran away real fast. He was like, psych.
I remembered that differently then anyway.
But I mean, I got it for a sweet Benjamin Franklin, if that's the $100 bill. Anyway, I forget. 100 with original antennas, smokes, grenade launchers, and tow cable, all the rubber, and it worked. It worked up until the moment I shot a review of it, and then it never worked again. Yeah, I think.
But it did work in the airport.
So well. Yeah. Ironically, do not play with your Mauler outdoors. Something will strip, something will fuck out. which is a
Well,
shame.
unless you got a cool modified one.
Yes,
Well, we all do.
all, courtesy of Mauler Joe, have maulers.
Yeah. I
With-
still can't believe that.
I mean, yeah, GI Joburg has been shown some gratitude, not gratitude, has been shown some generosity in the past by our fans and friends out there. And this was just an epic contribution from a guy who maintains and fixes up maulers, has kind of done so for many years. Because, and I'm going to paraphrase him, this toy is so well engineered, it gives you so much that you can do with the internals. The plastic wall thickness is so forgiving. It's a lovely pour of plastic, which in the immediately following year, you see a departure from. Like the Mauler was not a budget toy. Compared to something like the Havoc, which at least toyetically is its kind of successor, like the Havoc is a wafer thin little biscuit of toy.
Yeah,
The
you
Mauler
drop that
is
thing.
substantial, and clicks together so nicely. You can take it apart without fear of breaking the clips because they are so forgiving and thick.
Girthy, meaty.
Yeah, it's
All around in form and function. This thing is superb.
Yeah, it is. It is for my money the most attractive GI Joe tank. If I can put it that way. Yeah. Like Steve, I remember all those years ago, in the beginning of our friendship. Actually, I remember you sending me a message and with an eBay listing, going, "Should I get it?" And like peeps, it has been the eternal struggle, or near eternal struggle for Steve. Putting the trigger on this thing has been quite the odyssey. The driver, on the other hand, is also super cool. Like we get 2 for 2 here. We get like an amazing driver and an amazing vehicle. And what's his face? Old Heavy Metal is great. Absolutely great. Still a huge hole in my collection, I might add. Yeah, but he does got that vibe. Yeah. He's great. I love his gun. I think his gun's a lot. I don't think I'll ever see the gun in person. Mind you.
You'll
But I
probably
do
never
love
see
his
the little
gun.
mic in person either.
I'll never see the mic in person. But that's okay as long as I can get my hands on the figure. A notable feature for this guy is the dirt on his face, because he's always wearing goggles, so the dirt cakes on his face. I love that feature. It is something that I think they could have only really gotten away with for a vehicle driver. I think it's novel. It's such a great idea. And again, stash. He's got a stash. He's got a snore.
As we always say, stash figure wins.
Stash figure wins, yeah.
Always.
What's the variation that they've got here that I'm that's Rampage. Okay. Yeah, lame. He doesn't have the tank. He doesn't have tank face.
Yeah.
He hasn't got evidence of being down on the tank. Anybody anything else to say before we move on?
Oh man, crowd pleaser. Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Crowd pleaser, snake teaser. Silver Mirage. Steve, this is on you, man.
This is on you, Steven.
Yeah, this one's all. I don't think Rob. Yeah, we don't have Silver Mirages, Rob.
I do not actually, but I mean, I've seen them. It's a more like fun road bike. Like you have the other one, whatever it's called, pretty cool. But this is slightly a little more futuristic, which I quite like, and it comes with that funny backpack, which I've always found to be so weird, but so interesting. It's just a fun little vehicle. Like
Welcome, Duke Ninja Turtle. Anyway.
Stephen, what
once
makes
again
this
coming back to the model kit approach of 1985, which was a flash in the pan that they quickly kind of scaled back from. The the Silver Mirage, for what it is, just a bike and a sidecar, is so complex.
Yeah.
I always come back to the fact that this was another donation from a pal of ours, Dan the Man, who insisted that I have the experience of building it up from, the tiniest element.
From the
He included
trees, yeah.
it was a complete
What
one.
a
No, it
mensch.
wasn't on the trees. It was a complete one, but it was completely disassembled, and it came with the
Ooh.
blueprints. So I had the delight of putting it together, and seeing how this thing came together, and even doing a little repair on a common malady of the Silver Mirage. The back suspension. Yes, it's a bike that has suspension, ladies and gentlemen. The back suspension has an arm that can easily be snapped off, so I kind of extended it with just a paper clip, and that created a very, very good suspension as a result. Anyway, what a treat to build this thing up, because it is so complex. 3 rubber
I mean,
tires,
you look at
spokes,
it.
you push
Yeah.
in the little pins to attach the wheels, so it's not a mushroom clip situation. It's got an actual like finished hub. So nice.
You just see the colors. I mean, if you just look at it, you can see that there are multiple layers to the pieces of this thing. The engine is different color. The wheels are a different color. Silver, green, black. There's just a mix of colors that and they build on each other to make it more interesting and complex than
The sidecar has a windshield. The windshield is below the gun, offers the occupant nothing, but it's still there, just as a kind of aesthetic choice.
Yeah, so it matches the main body.
It's a pretty toy. It is
Helps
also
deliver the protein.
It is also heinously fragile.
Yeah.
It's prohibitively fragile. You can't really play rough with this thing. It's so not the RAM. This is for kids who liked a nice curated shelf collection. This is not for kids who likes to rampage their things through the garden and down the jungle track.
No.
So I'm torn on this thing. I will always love it, but it's a tough thing to play with, and there's a reason why you guys don't have one. I have 4, and only one of them is in a state that can be given. Like,
Yeah.
I've only got one that is fully functional. The other 3 have all got broken sidecar pins. Maybe I need to give them to you guys, and you guys figure out a way to attach them better, because
I can mod and fix that.
Scratching my head. Okay, Paul, Rob,
Yeah, I'm sure I can
you're
find
getting
a
Silver
solution.
Mirages, boys. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you, dude. I was just gonna say, the thing I'm scared of about this vehicle is like its fragility, but I've always appreciated its aesthetic, and I've
Well, you
always
now have a
appreciated what it is.
project on your hands, my boy.
Sweet. And I've thankfully got the tools. That the nice thing is, if it's coming quote unquote dead on arrival, right? Then it can't get worse. It's already dead. So if I can bring life into it,
it can only get better.
Yeah, then it's awesome. And then
Rad,
Rob, maybe we'll be able to give you some. I can share how to fix. Here is another great and iconic vehicle for GI Joe, and I do of course mean the Snowcat.
The Snowcat. So we've gone to the desert, we've gone off road, we've gone into the water with Cobra, and now we're going into the snow,
into the frozen tundra. Yes, that's right. The Snowcat. Guys, I don't know if we should linger on this for too long. I think GI Joburg as an entity has spoken about the Snowcat ad nauseum on multiple occasions.
On hours. I mean,
but in 1985, this is when you got your first taste of it, and it has endured. Who would have thought that this vehicle would have endured the way it has, with multiple recolors and re-releases over the subsequent years?
This vehicle is what makes GI Joe great.
Yeah.
This level of detail.
That's it.
This level of playability. It one-ups the Mauler in that it does have like a crew compartment that is visible and easily accessible. Like, there's so much cool internal play for me having two characters in that cab. Ben from Chasing Joe and I talk about the cozy factor from time to time. This is the textbook example of the cozy factor.
Yeah, and they're
bought this
having no
vehicle-
conversation.
Oh wow, it's Snake Eyes on the box art. In any case, maybe Frostbite does all the talking. I bought this vehicle when I was on my very first snow season of my life, living in California in the United States in 2006, 2007. And the Snowcat was an essential to buy item. Got this for Christmas of 2006. And in the lead up to getting it for myself, before it had arrived, or maybe after it had arrived and was still sort of sitting under the Christmas tree, I would walk to and from work having little dialogues with myself, the two occupants of the Snowcat talking to each other about like, turn up the heater, man. My hands are still frozen. Like, oh, you could play with this toy even without having the toy, I guess is my point. I love the Snowcat so much.
Yeah, without even owning it, you can see it in your mind very easily because it has the silhouette, which is very uniquely its own. This year really did give us a lot of like iconic vehicles for GI Joe and Cobra.
GI Joe. Yeah.
Alas, gentlemen, I have run out of time on this podcast, and I must love and leave you both. If you want to continue, please do. If you don't, then maybe the listeners will be treated to a part 3. But I'm okay.
I think fair enough. No,
I want to do a part 3. I want to do
a part 3. There's a lot of stuff to come.
There's so much stuff. I need Steven's voice on battle platforms. Steve, we can't leave you out here, especially because you're the only one of the 3 of us that has some of this stuff.
Ooh.
Well, fortunately, you both have experience with the USS Flag.
That came out this year. I didn't know that.
So yes, guys, we're gonna stretch this out. Wow! All right, 3 podcasts for the price of 3.
It's the 40th anniversary of this thing. I mean, like, how often do we do that? We didn't do that for 1984, guys. That's got to tell you something.
1985 is a gift that keeps on giving.
Unless we do, because now we have a cool format that kind of stretches the one topic out for multiple episodes. Who knows what we're going to do in the future. But thank you for joining us on a continued joy and journey into 1985 on its 40th anniversary. Thank you to everyone who came with on this journey, but especially we thank the Berg Force, everyone who helps to keep the lights on, to keep us going, to keep us fed in a way. You guys have bought us so many coffees, helped us get so many toys, keep subscriptions going. We love all of you, past, present, and future. And to everyone, if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. Do it. We'd love to see you. Come talk to us in the comments. Come talk to us on our email address at arealsouthafricanhero@gmail.com. And just enjoy it. Buy our shirts. They're beautiful. Tell us how cool they are. We don't even own them. They're so cool. We do hoodies. We do gas masks. I don't know. We do tons of cool GI Joe inspired merch.
Actually, what Rob's trying to say is that please get our merch because we can't get our own merch because to ship it to South Africa is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
With import tariffs regarding fabric.
It's crazy.
So but please enjoy our stuff for us.
We made it for you to enjoy. So go and check it out. And yo, Joe.
Berg loose. Don't drink all my juice.